to allow relief workers and people displaced by the storm to stay for free. Airbnb says more than 850 hosts in 5 states volunteered to participate in the Open Homes program.
And here's another look at the latest track of Hurricane Dorian, now a Category 3 hurricane. I'm getting the thumbs up that we just got the new advisory. So this is actually what just came down moments ago. You can still see it sitting there and has not made the turn north.
Next at 5 on Wink News this morning, Lee County schools remain open this morning as other communities are canceling classes. We'll tell you what goes into making that big decision.
Plus, how states across the southeast are now preparing for Hurricane Dorian before it heads north.
Whipping winds, howling, and destroying lives. Right now, the people on Grand Bahama are going through all of this, trying to survive the terrifying Hurricane Dorian conditions for the past 8 hours.
We have a lot of family and friends who are currently missing at the moment. We have a lot of babies who are trapped in homes. But everybody's just separated from each other, man. It's horrible.
That man speaking from a car in the Bahamas. This morning, Florida is no longer in the path. The new track out minutes ago shows Dorian is still a Category 3, but we are still waiting on the turn north. Wink News is the weather authority with crews stationed up and down the East Coast. We begin first with meteorologist Matt Devitt live in Fort Pierce.
Well, you know, right now it is windy outside, but literally offshore, over 100 miles to my east, that is where we have Dorian, which thankfully is not the storm that it once was. The problem is that came with a price. It slammed the northern Bahamas, and at one point, max winds 185, and it just parked itself and parked itself. The conditions there have been absolutely terrible. Now, with that system essentially unraveling very slowly over the North Bahamas and lowering its max winds, that system is going to be weakening over the next several days. But still, it's a major hurricane. It is packing a punch, and because of at least my proximity to the storm, we have seen wind gusts as high as 30, 40, and at times even over 50 miles an hour which would be equivalent of lower tropical storm force gusts. Now, what I've seen so far here in Fort Pierce, we've had a few small to medium-sized limbs in the street, kind of littering everywhere, but they still have power. So we haven't had strong enough wind to knock out the power. So some good news there. But boy, the Atlantic right now, I'm sure you can't see it in the distance, but it is kicking. It is nasty. The sand blasting horizontally going in from left to right. And, you know, thankfully in Southwest Florida, we know the drill, we know the routine, and we've been kind of reiterating this. This system is going to remain far enough away so that we do not see a direct impact. But here in Fort Pierce, the winds will continue to increase as we go throughout the morning as finally this system gets the kick that it needs. But right now it's stalled out. And for the very latest on that, I want to toss it out to meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees. Brittany?
Thanks, Matt. So here again is a look at Dorian on our GOES 16 satellite there. You can see how it just pummeled areas of the Bahamas. Our latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center still has all of the state of Florida out of the cone and has actually even shifted just a little bit farther east. So that is some positive news for most of the state of Florida. Still a major hurricane, Category 3 with winds sustained at about 120 miles per hour. Now, the bottom line for us here in Southwest Florida, Matt mentioned this earlier, we dodged a bullet. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, breezy to windy conditions with gusts at about 20 to 35 miles an hour. The gust potential is probably the biggest change you're going to notice for today. We did start to see that change yesterday. The track still projected to take that north turn later on today. Now, the intensity, we've also been talking about this the past few days. It is a powerful hurricane, but it is slowly weakening as it does continue to grow bigger. Our local impacts from the wind gusts, European model and American, are getting to a much better agreement, 20 to 35 miles per hour over toward Lake O, closer to that tropical storm force with wind gust potential up to about 45. But notice the rainfall totals. That farther it shifts offshore, our rainfall totals go down even more, about 1/2 inch to 2 inches of rain for Lake O, even less for Southwest Florida. And like I mentioned, the American coming into much better agreement there as well. Southwest Florida wind gusts up to 35, up to 45 closer to Lake Okeechobee, and rainfall pretty similar as well. So we are on the lower side of the rain, but our rainfall for today is going to come in from those outer bands of Dorian. We'll talk more about that and have your complete local forecast, Sabrina, and the 10-day coming up in just about 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Brittany. And because of that storm, still seeing the toll plaza suspend tolls. If you are heading towards Alligator Alley for some reason this morning over towards the East Coast, you will not have to pay tolls. Also, there is some slow traffic in Fort Myers. I'm going to show you on my maps this morning. This is going to be on Cypress Lake heading east of McGregor towards Winkler. Also delays on a 6-mile heading north of Daniels Parkway. And speaking of Daniels Parkway, seeing that normal morning rush underway, and that's going to be starting from Fiddlesticks heading eastbound towards I-75. That's your news traffic.
Right now at the Live Center, reports of at least 5 people dead and 13,000 homes destroyed in the Bahamas. This morning, I'm getting so many images out of the Grand Bahama. Of course, that's Dorian's latest victim. People walking in nearly waist-deep water, not only on the outside, but in the inside as well. This is a hospital, an emergency room in Freeport. Can you imagine? This is what people are having to walk through. Of course, patients were evacuated from this ER. And then homes and roads engulfed by wind and rain, storm surge engulfing, just swallowing cars. And the same situation in residents' homes. Look at this. Could you imagine this being your home, walking through all this debris and water just to try to pick up the pieces as Grand Bahama continues to get the effects of Dorian?
And thankfully, we are not forecast to see that type of destruction here in Florida. The major hurricane is expected to basically just stay offshore. Not very far away, though, but there will be significant effects on the East Coast. Take a look. Those hurricane watches and warnings we've been telling you about now go much further than the Florida-Georgia line. Now you're seeing these watches and warnings all the way to South Carolina. We have crews across the state covering Dorian for you this morning. Let's get out now to Andrea Henderson, who is live from Daytona Beach, where a curfew will actually be in effect starting tonight. Andrea.
Corey, that curfew actually goes into effect for Volusia County at 6 tonight because they only expect these conditions to get worse out here. Now, I can give you an idea of how the wind is out here by the beach this morning. If we take a pan up to those flags, pretty gusty, but at this point still bearable. Now, by yesterday afternoon, we came to the beach. We also saw just a handful of cars, a couple people on the sidewalk. So it does appear that people are taking this evacuation seriously, which of course is a good thing. Later on this afternoon around 4, that's when the county really expects the winds to pick up out here. Now they're warning people to get wherever they plan to ride out the storm as soon as possible. One shelter in the area already at capacity as of last night, and it's likely they will fill up more and more as the day progresses. Now it is good to see a lot of people planned ahead and got to those hotels and shelters early.
We're not going to take a chance. No way. Not for something like that. Pick up the pieces when it's done and go on.
A couple of other people, they kind of made me calm so that I would feel a little bit safe, and just to keep them more at ease.
And while people find wherever they are going to go to ride out the storm, that curfew is not lifted until 6 in the morning tomorrow. Live at Daytona Beach, Andrea Henderson, Wink News Now.
Meanwhile, teams are standing by for search and rescue operations in Florida. The governor activated 4,500 National Guardsmen and 1,200 police. And there are 21 special urban rescue teams and 8 helicopters waiting to launch. Governor DeSantis says the president has pledged full federal support.
He's fully engaged in this, and just reiterated that he's going to provide whatever resources we need to be able to weather Dorian. FEMA is fully engaged.
The governor is still asking you to remain vigilant of the storm. More than 10 coastal counties are under mandatory evacuations.
Right now, commercial flights are not taking off or coming into Orlando International Airport. In fact, the airport has stopped operations overnight just because of Hurricane Dorian. And Fort Lauderdale Airport is expected to reopen this afternoon after closing yesterday. And I want to show you this. This is the live map right now of FlightAware. More than 1,300 flights have been canceled across the nation. And take a look, the top places where flights are canceled: Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Palm Beach. Right now, American, Delta, United, and Southwest are also offering waivers for flight changes.
Full Dorian coverage up ahead. Parents are upset why some school districts are back to class today despite the hurricane. Plus, how evacuees to Southwest Florida are making a difference here, and watching our water quality, the impact of runoff on Lake Okeechobee.
And of course, we'll have your local forecast, local impacts from us here in Southwest Florida with this storm. And of course, Matt Devitt is live in Fort Pierce.
Right now, Hurricane Dorian is still stalled a little more than 100 miles off Florida's east coast. And this is the new forecast track. You can see it's keeping it offshore.
And Weather Authority meteorologist Matt Devitt is live from Fort Pierce this morning as the National Hurricane Center is now calling for Dorian to move dangerously close to Florida. Matt.
And, at least over the past 24 hours, we have seen at least some improvement in the overall thinking, even more of a shift to the east. And that has been reflected in their newest forecast cone. But by no means are we not going to see anything. As you could tell with this live shot here, we still are going to have the winds whipping already. 30 to 40 miles an hour, occasionally gusting to 50. Got the sand hitting me on the left, and also literally in between now and the previous live shot, this big guy right here just fell from a nearby palm tree. Look at this. Can you imagine this going through the air at about 40 and 50 miles an hour? So that's just some of the things that we're very mindful of at my location here along Fort Pierce. I've been observing some of the conditions in the Atlantic. The waves are certainly up, but there is a storm surge warning in effect. Right now, we do not have that. I am not seeing any storm surge or any water rise coming in from the Atlantic. But over the past 24 hours, Dorian very slowly, very gradually has been weakening. At one point, as we know, a monster, powerful Category 5. But ever since then, and ever since it stalled out, it has been weakening and weakening. And actually, there are two reasons for that. First of which, the land interaction on Grand Bahama, and also because it's over the same water, it's been churning it up and causing it to cool down. So ironically, Dorian is hurting itself. So that helps us out. The problem is it stalled out right on top of Grand Bahama, and the video, the pictures have been absolutely devastating. Now, the plan has not changed. There's going to be a weakness in a dome of high pressure to our north, and that will guide Dorian towards the north, and it will be turning today. But right now it's still stationary, and for the very latest on that forecast, we've got you covered. I want to toss it out to meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees. Brittany?
Thanks so much, Matt. So here again is Dorian on our GOES 16 satellite. You can see there that the eye itself just to the north there of the Bahamas, the center, the worst part of the storm, not over land right now. Here's Tropical Tracker. As of this morning, as of 5 a.m., still a stationary Category 3 hurricane with winds sustained at about 120 miles per hour. The current forecast cone has the state of Florida out of that, but even if the center stays offshore, that does not mean the areas along the immediate coast will not be impacted. Look how close it'll get to the state of Florida. Once again, that's the center of circulation. Some positive news. We've shown you these over the past few days. Our model plots still in good agreement that the center will stay away, so no surprise there that the National Hurricane Center did shift that just a little bit farther east, and the consensus models even more in agreement. You can barely tell that there are multiple there on the screen. So here's Doppler radar right now. You can see the center of Dorian does look a little bit wobbly out there this morning. Still about 220 miles east of Fort Myers, about 120 away from Matt's location there in Fort Pierce. Watches and warnings still up for a lot of the state of Florida, even though that center is expected to stay offshore. Hurricane warning in effect for all these areas shaded in pink for the immediate coast and offshore, with hurricane force conditions expected within likely a 36-hour period or less. Hurricane watch still up for Palm Beach County, including the city of West Palm Beach, and those have expanded also up towards areas near coastal Georgia and South Carolina. Tropical storm warning in effect for these areas shaded in orange for that high probability that they will see those tropical storm force conditions. We do still have for our area here in Southwest Florida, Lake Okeechobee and areas of Highlands and Glades County in that tropical storm watch for the potential to see those wind gusts near tropical storm force conditions. So definitely keeping an eye on that and the rain that they will see. Storm surge warnings and watches also in effect for areas along the immediate coast due to the upwelling of water, that storm surge inundation that they're expecting. Probably the most notable thing that you'll notice this afternoon, we started to see this yesterday, was the wind. It's going to pick up. We're already seeing wind sustained at about 12 miles per hour at the peak in Punta Gorda, around 5 to 10 elsewhere across Southwest Florida. Our wind gusts really going to pick up as we go throughout the day. We'll see that wind gusting close to about 35 miles per hour, and even more so in areas that do see some thunderstorms, the wind can pick up even more. We'll also need to watch for the isolated chance that some of those do become strong at times. So here's the rain coming in as we go throughout the day. The outer bands there of Dorian, you can see most of that rain coming in by the late morning and into the early afternoon. Heavy rain at times, so those areas that see those heavier rain bands will see a quick accumulation of rain, but some areas will also stay dry. Really, with these tropical systems, It's where those rain bands set up that we do see the majority of that rainfall, with most areas starting to see some clearing by later on today once Dorian finally makes that turn toward the north. So scattered rain and storms over the next 2 days, gusty conditions expected. We'll start to see that breeze on Thursday, so wind starting to die down, and then we will pretty much get back to what's normal for this time of the year by the time we hit this weekend and into the early and middle part of next week.
Well, the good news, if you're heading out right now to the roadways, we're looking good, especially over the Caloosahatchee Bridge right now. This is a look at the Caloosahatchee from the SunTrust building in downtown. We are up to speed. Heading from North Fort Myers into downtown should only take you about 3 minutes. Also on my maps in Cape Coral, slowdowns on Trafalgar heading west of Skyline towards Chiquita Boulevard, and slowdowns as well, of course, on Nicholas Parkway heading south towards Pine Island. North Cape commuters a little slow on Nelson heading south of Kismet towards Diplomat. I would say go ahead and stick to Chiquita. The Drink News traffic.
After the long holiday weekend, 2 school districts are going back to class this morning, Lee and Charlotte County. Meanwhile, these are the schools staying home today, including our 2 major colleges. And this morning, parents are having a hard time understanding why their students are going back. Wink News reporter Brea Hollingsworth is live outside of Cape Coral High School. In just a couple hours there, Brea, they're going to have that first bell ring.
And Lindsay, that decision has caused a lot of backlash. In fact, take a look at this. It's a petition on change.org to close schools in Lee County today, and it's almost got the required 15,000 signatures. Some parents say because the storm is still lingering off Florida's coast, their kids won't be in school today. The Collier County School District cites reasonable worst-case winds that could potentially exceed safe levels for buses to be on the road for their decision to cancel classes. However, both Charlotte and Lee County school districts argue that those counties stretch farther east, where the winds are predicted to be much stronger. Now, we've read the comments on social media and our own Facebook page. Many parents we talked to seem to be on the fence about it.
I still think that the storm is close enough that really they should close. The other counties around us have chosen to close down for safety reasons.
I mean, as long as they think it's safe, I don't have a problem with it, and the kids don't have to make up an extra day.
Now, as for whether or not Collier County will go back to school tomorrow, the school district plans to make that decision by 3 this afternoon. At Cape Coral High School, Brea Hollingsworth, Wink News, now.
And Wink News is the weather authority. We have our full team of meteorologists here this morning tracking Hurricane Dorian. A lot of people are probably wondering, okay, we're waiting for that turn to happen, but what are we going to experience today here in Southwest Florida?
Well, we are going to, of course, see that chance for some rain that will come from those far, far outer rain bands from Dorian, which, of course, will provide that chance to see some of that rain coming in. We've already seen a few here on Doppler radar, and to talk about the rain that we're seeing right now, we're going to send it over to meteorologist Brooke Silverang there on our Weather One computer. You can see, Brooke, that the rain already coming in here across parts of Southwest Florida.
That is right, Brittany. We've been talking about this as we were looking at the forecast over the past few days. We knew we were going to get the rain, and we are seeing that coming down over portions of the east coast of Florida there. And we do expect to see the scattering of rain and showers and even a couple of thunderstorms, all in association with Hurricane Dorian. Now, we do have the potential for some very heavy downpours at times, that deep tropical moisture. As you can see over down in Collier County near Naples along Alligator Alley. Look at that pocket right there. That's 4 inches of rain that fell yesterday. So again, goes to show that we can see rainfall rates anywhere between 1 inch per hour, even 2 inches per hour, depending just how heavy the rain is falling. And as we take a look at the bigger picture, as this continues to wrap around the counterclockwise rotation, look at all that rain along with it. So we do have the opportunity again today to be dealing with the scattered rain and storms and the potential to see a strong storm or two. Look at the temperatures though, out the door, upper 70s, kind of where we've been seeing the past few mornings. Winds haven't picked up yet, but we will see those gusting once again into the mid-20s, even 30s, but we will see those wind speeds mainly out of the northwest today, up to 20 miles per hour for some neighborhoods. So that's going to give us the opportunity from breezy to even gusty conditions today, even for tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to see those winds once again mainly out of the west, the onshore wind. So we could see some piling up of some water near the coastal areas that tend to see those conditions with the onshore wind just for a few more days. But then by Thursday, Friday, we should start to see conditions back to normal. As for this afternoon, scattered rain rain and storms, temperatures into the 90s, so it is still going to feel like a summer-like day. Extra clouds, a chance for those on and off showers due to the outer bands of the storm. But here's what we're looking at, though, from the tropical satellite. We do have an area sitting close to Dorian in the mid-Atlantic that will continue to push off in a way, so we're not too concerned with that one. The one in the Gulf of Mexico, that will continue to work its way off towards the west, and then we do have a few other areas that we're watching off of Africa. This one has a very high chance of further developing, the area in red, and then the area in orange. We're going to be keeping an eye on that. Area in red moving off towards the northwest. Again, this one we're not too concerned about, but if anything were to develop as we do near the peak of hurricane season, that's September 20th, we will let you know as soon as possible. But here's what we're looking at over the next few days ahead. We should start to see conditions starting to go back to normal late Thursday into Friday. Then by the weekend, summer-like day here for Southwest Florida.
All right, thanks, Brooke. And as of right now, there is a disabled vehicle on I-75. This is mile marker 142 traveling northbound just near Bayshore Road. You can see those flashing lights from that car. And so if you are passing this way, make sure to just use a little extra caution. Also on my maps this morning in North Fort Myers, the slowdown's happening on 41 heading southbound. This is going to be heading towards Pine Island. We're actually up to speed, though, on Pine Island, heading east and west between Business 41 and US 41. And Del Prado just cleared as well, so heading north of Pine Island towards Diplomat, you're up to speed. That's your news traffic.
We still have a long way to go with hurricane season, but you may be thinking about buying a generator. What to know before making the big purchase so you don't waste your money. And before we go to break, I want to show you the latest track for Hurricane Dorian. Chief Meteorologist Jim Farrell is now in the studio and analyzing this storm. He's up next with his expert analysis. Right now, another look inside the plane carrying the people tracking Hurricane Dorian from the sky. This is new video. Take a look. This is from the hurricane hunter showing them flying right above the storm as it slowly moves across the Bahamas. This was a 10-hour mission going through Hurricane Dorian.
Well, if you're looking to keep the lights on and save money by buying a used generator, there are a few things to look for first. Look at the hours on the generator, test the oil, and look at the numbers of continuous watts. Gene Scott from North Fort Myers has purchased his fair share of damaged and used generators.
So I ended up having quite a bit of work done to it, and it lasted for a year or so. And then when Charlie came, it was no, enough's enough. So bought another used one.
Since we are still in hurricane season, if you choose to buy a used generator that needs repairs, make sure to bring it into the shop as soon as possible. The closer you get to a storm, the longer the wait.
And another look at the track for Hurricane Dorian. Big question this morning, when will it make the turn north that we've all been watching? It has weakened a little bit. This is the brand new 5 a.m. track. And I want to make sure you download the Wink News app because you're going to be getting notifications just like this one we sent 30 minutes ago with the brand new track as soon as they come in.